Welcome to the School Owner Talk podcast, the longest-running martial arts school owner podcast in our industry. Join Duane and Allie Alberigo as they share expert insights, proven strategies, and the keys to growing your martial arts business. Let's take your school to the next level. And now here's our hosts, Duane and Allie.
Hello and welcome back to School Owner Talk. I'm Duane Brummett. I'm obviously here with my friend and pal Allie Alberigo, co-host, and it's kind of funny because you and you're rightly so. You bring up the fact that this is the longest running martial arts school owner podcast, if you will. And I gotta come up with the actual date.
Yeah.
We first started.
I can tell you this. I was talking to one of our friends, Adam Lux, and he says he remembers listening to it about 12 years ago. I think it's something when we started doing this.
Crazy, right?
And I mean, time flies. So, I can't believe we're at, it's December 3rd already. We're almost done with the 2025 year. It almost seems like we just started it. But time goes by. So, yeah, we've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, and that's you kind of prefaced our topic, 2026 planning, because we need to set our school up next year for, a strong new year. And, how do you, before we get into 2026, how do you feel about 2025? I mean, I will say, before I take over the conversation, I will say that this has been a different year for me and my school.
Different is a great word. Unique is another one. Like when my daughter and I would drive in my car and someone would pull some crap on the road, cut me off, whatever. And I'd look at my daughter, I go, that's a really unique person. Rather than he's such an a-hole, I don't curse. And so I go, he's very unique, that kind of thing. And yeah, this was a unique year. I don't know if everyone's experiencing what I am, but I know that the schools that I coach, and they're from all over the country, Pennsylvania, New York City, all over the place, right? And it's definitely been similar trend with everyone. And I don't know if it's the economy or the constant political strife that they put in front of our faces every single day and all this turmoil that's going on. I don't know, but it's definitely been one of those years.
Yeah, and I think, part of it is the unknown of what's going to happen, but that's always true anyways. Any year, this was an election year, meaning that, somebody else took over the office, and that always, I think, is a little shaken up year.
Right.
I can tell you that, before COVID hit us, 2020 was the first quarter was amazing. And then after that, obviously it dropped so that was the last year of Trump, so it'll be interesting moving into 2026 now that the tariffs have kind of leveled out to a certain degree. The wars are stopping. We'll see what happens with the whole
none of what
thing.
You said, Duane, is true anyway. That's all just that's all just bull crap. It's all, fake news that were written by the Republican. No, I isn't that interesting though? Everything that you just said, people are on the opposite end. Like you said, the tariffs are doing great. That this is doing great. There's a whole bunch of people, millions of people on the planet that don't believe any of that to be true or real. So how do you deal with that? As a society?
Well, people are going to believe what they want to believe.
Right.
Now, that being said, the price of goods are still higher. Yes, gas has gone down a little bit. Some of the merchandise in the stores, food has gone down a little bit. Beef is off the chart higher than it was last year. So there are some variables. And look, do I appreciate all of Trump's antics? No.
Right.
But there are some times that he does things that I go, that wasn't very presidential.
Yeah.
At least from my concept of being presidential.
Right.
But sometimes in the end, wow, you're like, well, that was quite effective, even though it wasn't presidential.
It's
so
like
I think
anything else like that, you have a certain view of how a martial artist is supposed to act, right? And then I have certain friends that don't act very martial art like. Like I used to have a student of mine who was dating one of my friends who's a high ranking martial artist, and she would always call me and go, he's not very Shihan like. He doesn't act like a Shihan. I said, I don't know what that means because everyone is a different person. Like, what is your perception of what a person should act like? But you're right though. Trump will do things to antagonize. He'll do things to create emotions. He's got a master plan, and then normally it works out in the end. And he's a master tactician.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not a politician by any stretch of the
Right.
imagination, and but
So what?
I was just going to say, but I think that has been the variable or one of the variables
Yeah.
in owning a business this year. And so
Right.
I say all that because I think next year is going to be, I don't want to say less interesting, but
Right.
it will. I think the opportunities of growth are still there.
Right.
I know they are. And the opportunities for the economy are going to be different based upon laws that have been passed. So, when I look back at 2025, there have been some wins.
Right.
What I'll tell you one thing that worked, and we interviewed him last podcast. What worked really well for me was hiring Matthew Brenner and learning his systems
Right.
to like the three-prong approach to getting into daycares and schools
Right.
and getting those people to actually show up to your location and then doing mass enrollments.
Yeah.
That to me probably will end up being one of the biggest game changers for me over the next 10 years easily. I think that's been a huge win for us.
That's amazing. That's really good. And one thing I do notice, like with all my clients and all my martial art friends and just in the martial art community, is that the name of the game, the nature of what we do has changed dramatically because of the cultural shift of people, right? So like people purchase differently, right? They seem, and I guarantee you probably feel this as well, because I know everyone does, is people wait till the last minute on everything. Like, I mean, the last minute. Like, I have a mom. I don't know why she does this to me every year. I think she's doing it to piss me off because that's just the way I think. But if her agreement ends on the 1st of December, on, the 30th of November at 12 p.m. midnight exactly, she must wait and then hit boom, accept. Like she makes me wait to the very last minute, no matter what. I said, look, you're going to renew. Yeah, we're going to renew. Okay, can you sign it? No, I'm going to wait. And every year, like on that, the minute ticks, boom, she signs it. It's almost like she's just pissing me off for, trying to show that she has control. But I find that like even with our tournaments, like it's interesting. We have the last tournament we did, we had about 80 people going into the tournament the week before, 10 days prior, right? So we've learned not to panic and go like, oh my God, this is terrible. Like it's going to be a bad tournament and my wife always reminds me because I do get a little stressed out, but she's like, don't worry. Like then that week, the 7 days prior to the tournament, we got 175 signups. We were literally having people, I could feel my phone because it's on silent, but it buzzes slightly when it's on my nightstand. It was people were signing up until 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, like just to get things done. They waited to the very last minute. We ended up with almost 300 competitors, but it was all last minute. It was just crazy.
Yeah,
So that,
yeah, and I think that's where our society has gone. We're quote unquote busy, but we're really busy, probably doing most of nothing. A
but
lot of
why do you
scrolling.
think though, like, I don't know if you had this, but I remember I used to run my school a little bit more military like or militant, where if you didn't sign up right away, I got pissed off and I would tell you so. Like, what are you making me? Like right now, my Christmas party usually has 150 people. Right now, we have about 38 people signed up, and the Christmas party it's on the 20th, so we have 17 days. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to sign up. And by the way, out of that amount of people we have signed up, there's only like 15 students and their families that bring us up to that total. So there's only 15 people that are actually engaging and waiting for something better to come along. But why do you think that people are doing this? Do you think that it's just culture, or is it something that we're not doing well? or we have to change our methods and strategies? What are your thoughts going into 2026?
I think the sense of urgency is overused anymore. And
Okay.
I mean, you think about marketing, you're supposed to put a call to action. There needs to be a sense of urgency. There needs to be
Right.
a limited quantity. And people are like, yeah, okay. Like
Yeah.
most of the time, that's not true,
Right.
and when it is true, they get pissed
Right.
because
Right. They're mad at you.
yeah, they procrastinated and waited and so, but I think there's too many opportunities like that there isn't a limited quantity. There isn't an actual date that people follow through with. So I think that's part of it. But I also think people are busy doing nothing.
Yeah, I had that at my Halloween party where people literally showed up. They all knew there was a cutoff date. They couldn't sign up online. They showed up to the Halloween party. I'll pay you in cash. I'm like, and what am I going to do? Say, no, Johnny, go away. You can't do it. Although that there is so much in me that wanted to say, well, I'm sorry, you can't go. But then there was another part of me that said, do I turn these 12, 13 people away at 40 bucks, $50 a pop? And just to spite them and show them that they had to sign up by the deadline, or do I make the extra $800 and just suck it up?
Yeah.
Right. And, for me, having them there or not having them there really wouldn't make a difference, but it's still financially, it was beneficial to let them in. But I don't like when they do that. And it really drives me absolutely nuts. It's like people who they need to buy their tools for sparring gear or weaponry, and they don't buy it. There's no pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
We loan it to them, right? Like, so it's very weird.
Is there anything that you did this past year in 2025 that was like a flop that you go, yeah, no, there's no way I'm going to do this again, or if I
Yes.
do it again, I'm going to redo it differently?
Well, there are a lot actually. So I had a parent show, which years ago I used to do parent shows, right? And that would be like just for free, inviting everyone down to watch their kids perform, very similar to a free dance recital that you would bring your kid to. And they would perform on stage. The parents had chairs. They'd sit in the audience. We'd applaud. It was all fun. I mean, I did video invitations. I did automations. I did a whiteboard thing. We did everything that we should have: text message, email, phone calls, and I ended up with like 12 people. I'm like, I'm not. I hate to, these 12 poor people who did what they were supposed to do, but I'm like, I'm not going to show up, set up, and sit there and waste my day for 12 people, which is unfortunate because, one time a student said to me, I used to get mad. I'm teaching class and I'd be lecturing the class on all the people who didn't show. And one of my adult students says, Shion, or Sensei, can I tell you something? I'm like, yeah. He goes, we're all here. And I'm like, I get it. That's, but what about, he goes, yeah, but we're here. We're the ones who did show. You need to yell at those people on another platform because we're here doing what you asked us to do. And I'm like, wow, I had an epiphany. I'm like, really, I gotta find a way. And you and I chatted about this on other podcasts and in person behind the scenes. How do we communicate? How do we get people to listen? I looked through every book on communication, and it's all about public speaking and how to write crafty emails and all this other stuff. But it really wasn't how to get people to actually listen. Like a sermon, like you do, right? Senate, what do you call them? Senate sermons?
A Senate sermon, yeah.
Yeah. Like, little things within the class to get people to listen. Like if you went to church, how many people are only hearing half of what the pastor or priest is saying, right? What are they actually taking home and listening to?
Well, and that just proves the point of Zig Ziglar saying that a message can travel around the world in a matter of seconds, but it sometimes takes years to penetrate that last 3/4 of an inch, which
Yeah.
is your skull, hitting your brain,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I wish I had the magic pill or the way to do it. I think repetition,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Well,
uh,
the one thing is you can't give up.
no,
You can't give up because if you do, because you're afraid to keep saying the same thing over and over and over again, and you think that people are going to be mad, there are those people that are listening. They're going to get frustrated because you repeat yourself over and over again. But half the people are hearing it for the first time, even though you said it 20 times already.
yeah. And look, I would encourage everyone to do like a year in review with your staff.
Right.
sit down with your team. What worked, what didn't work, what do we want to work on next year, and or do it differently. And then the other thing is think about what is your biggest wins or lessons from 2025 that you can take into 2026 and also the years to go, or the years ahead. Personally, like I said, my biggest win were getting out there and making contact through daycares and schools, because now I'm back in the face of people that I haven't been in their face probably in 10 years, just because I got lazy. I got comfortable with how the studio was running. I didn't have to do a lot of in-person things. And I wasn't, we weren't known like we're known again now. And we'll be, even stronger next year as well, just because we have things planned next year. I think that was, my biggest win and biggest lesson is I have to be ever present. And I think part of the problem too for me was, having a second location and dividing myself up, thinking that, I could be in both locations at the same time, even knowing that I can't. Does that make sense?
Oh, I've had it. I've done it. I've been there, right? Like I told you that when you're opening that, even though you might have the right people in place, now your attention is divided between two, right? So like there are guys that I've had 6 schools at one time and 5 out of the country. But I spent 95% of my time on managing those schools and teaching at each. People would say, "Oh, I haven't seen you in months." I'm going, "Yeah, that's because I was there last week on a Thursday. You happened not to come." But every single day I'm at a different school teaching, right? So like people don't understand that, and they need you. They want you. You're the head person. That's what they think. They have ownership in you, the person, because they invested in the school, which is personality driven.
It is personality driven, yeah, and it's a great lesson for us to be reminded that our what we do is a personality driven business, and we have to have
Yeah.
the right personalities in. The other thing too is and I'm not sure how many school owners do this. I think we all talk about it, but actually setting goals for 2026. So enrollment goals, retention
Right.
goals,
Yeah.
revenue goals, staff
Hmm.
development goals.
Yeah.
Pick one or two of them and really hone in on those, but make them set them up. Don't just say, "Hey, I want to do this," but then work it backwards, chunk it down, going, "Okay, in order to have X, I need to do Y and Z, and and work it backwards."
Yeah, look, the two most important things in every single martial arts school, also I'll give you an example. Well, the two most important things in every martial arts school is new students and retention of old students or existing students. I just recently found a new Italian restaurant in my area, and we like to order. So, like for the last few weekends, we've ordered a meal on the weekend from this restaurant. So the last like 3 times were perfect. I get this great vegan sandwich, broccoli rabe, and sauteed vegetables on a hero. And the first 2 or 3 times is great. The last 2 or 3 times they've missed certain things and it wasn't what I ordered. And it happened with my wife's mom where she asked for extra sauce and they forgot to give it to her. So I said, I could either be one of those Facebook idiots and go on Facebook and trash the company because I wasn't happy, but I found the owner's email and I emailed him and just said, "Look, I'm a business owner and I just want you to know this. I don't want a credit. I don't want any deal. I just want you to be aware of what happened." He wrote me this really heartfelt email, like, "Thank you so much." He responded right kindly, and he said, "Hey, I'll give you just, I know your sandwich because it's not the normal sandwich, right? So I'll, next time you order it, let them know that you get one for free, and I'm the owner and I said so." Like he handled it all so well. The customer service was outstanding, and I was just really seeing if he did it that way, or he wrote back. He could have wrote back and said, "Well, screw you, go to another Italian restaurant, you're a pain in the neck," right? Like, so we have to look at our retention as each individual student with the ultimate customer service, because nothing matters to a person more than themselves, right? If they're paying for their kid to learn your material but he's not learning, whose fault is it? It's ours. They never take responsibility. It's ours, right? I have a kid now. The mom just wrote me again. Is John going to get his promotion? I go, John forgets his techniques by the next class. Like, how am I supposed to promote him unless he puts the effort forward? She just wrote me again this morning. When's his test for the belt? Like, she heard all that stuff, but it went in one ear and out the other because she's so fixated on him moving forward, right? So, like, how do we? And I'm one of my clients is focusing on this in his school, and we could see the retention changing rapidly.
It makes a difference. And I'm glad that you said that, enrollment and retention, enrollment, retention.
That's all that matters.
It does. It does. But there's pieces that are play into that. So meaning, your staff development,
right,
in order to have good enrollment has to be there. Your staff development in order to have good retention has to be there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of there's a lot of things that are holding up enrollments, and there's a lot of things that are holding up retention.
Yeah.
And when you start to focus in on those, I think that's where the difference lies. Now, before we move on to the next topic with regards to 2026, I'm just going to ask you, in your opinion, if you had to pick, which one's more important, enrollments or retention?
Retention.
Agreed.
Yeah, it has to be, because it doesn't matter. Like, if you have an enrollment machine and you're signing tons of people up, but they're in through the front door and a month later they're out through the back door, or, holes in a bucket, you're pouring the water in and it's dribbling out all over, as fast as you put it in, it's going out. So retention is the key. And I think, though, that retention takes time. And that's what school owners don't put the time into. Like, so for example, if you just had a staff member and their job, and let's just pretend you paid them $30K a year, they worked, 20 hours a week, whatever it may be, right? $30,000 spent on retention. If you saved just, 15 students from quitting, you've already paid off with a profit what you're paying that employee. Now let that spill through to all the other people. So, like, if I've never had this, I don't know if you ever had this in anything that I've ever done, where someone cared enough to really see what I wanted, where I wanted to be, what my problem was. Because there's a lot of kids that we don't realize they have a learning disability. The parents never told us. They're very immature. They get in trouble in the school. Like, if we could help them individually, they will be our biggest fans. And by the way, they'll stay longer. They'll spend more money. They'll buy more retail. They'll come to more of your events. But
they'll tell more people.
Oh my God. Yeah. Referring people, which is a whole marketing campaign on new students. So, but we got to really focus on that. And that's something that we're doing better at. And we're looking at our stats compared to last year alone. And our new enrollment is up and our retention is up. So our growth is up, right? If I just stuck with the same old plan, in through the front door, out through the back door, I'm just constantly churning. Yeah, big deal. I'm getting leads. Leads mean nothing. Signups mean nothing if they're all quitting afterwards.
Yeah, and the other thing too, when we talked about, I was going to say, with regards to revenue, there's your billing volume, which is one part of the revenue, so meaning the tuition, but then you have events and retail as well. And so, and then, obviously if you have summer camps and special events like that, whatever, but let's just say you have three categories. So you have your tuition,
right?
You have retail, and then you have events,
right?
Looking at all of those separately and creating the goals for each of those. Now, if you have not been keeping track of any of those statistics, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to make some realistic goals.
Yeah, we always talk about the system that I wrote out is the 7 steps to income. And can I share? Can you allow me to share a screen?
Yeah. Let's see. I'm sure I can. I got to make you a host.
You got to go at the bottom. I think it says, I'm going to send a request.
Here we go. Allow. There you go.
Okay, so I'm going to see now hopefully I find the one that's PG rated and not X. No, just kidding. So let's see if this shows up. Can you see this?
Yeah.
So this screen is my 7 steps to income. I've had this around forever, and they're exactly what you said. New students, existing students, upgrades, special events, retail. Then we have the pay in full and the compression payments, which is like someone has a 12-month agreement, but they have 9 months in, they have 4 months left, or whatever, 3 months left on their agreement. You call them up and say, hey, if you want to pay in full, I'll give you a little bit of a discount. And what we do is we get a lot of extra income to maybe hit our financial goal that month, but you do cash people out. And the last thing, which is huge, as you know, you're doing this now, is outside programs, but you're not necessarily charging, but your payday is bringing new students into your school.
Right.
Right. So all of these things set based on the every school is the same way. And by the way, every business is the same way. If this was a bagel store, it would be new clients, bringing new clients in, keeping the old clients happy, upgrading people so that they get 2 bagels and maybe a pie and a coffee, right? And then the special events, I don't know if you could do that at a bagel store, but you could have some special deals on Saturdays where women have a discount or whatever. And then, retail, I never understood how, and I'm going to stop sharing, how people have restaurants and they have a shirt. Jack's Restaurant, and they sell a ton of shirts because people love the restaurant. They want to wear the shirt, Jack's Restaurant.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's wild. So like, if someone's buying it for a hamburger joint, why are they not buying our TriStar Long Island and Jitsu Center sweatshirts, hoodies, and jackets or whatever? So we just got to get better at those things in order to succeed.
I would agree. So obviously first quarter planning would be the next next thing to bring up. So your January, February, and your March, that's going to, obviously set the tone for the rest of the year.
Right.
Now you don't have to necessarily do it in 3-month blocks, but if you do, I would encourage you to, look at your first quarter, obviously break it down. What do you want to make? What do you want to make in total revenue? And then break that down. This is what I want it to be in tuition. This is what I want it to be in retail. This is what I want it to be in events in order to, have that total income. And then, break it down. This is what has to happen this month, and next month. Yeah. And then what are we going to do and how are we going to do it in order to get there? I know that sounds simple, but it is important to have those, and then even break those, break that down. Well, how many weeks is that? I'm just trying to look here real quick. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 13 weeks. So you got to break that over a 13-week period.
That's the first quarter.
That's the first quarter. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, every public speaking kind of motivational speaker, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Zig Ziglar, they always say goals we set are goals we get, right? So if you have a plan of action, I have to tell you, most of my clients, they don't have a plan of action. They don't really sit down. I remember to this day, you told me this probably 8 years ago, where you were, I think it's when you were single, so it's longer that you used to do it. You'd go away for the weekend in a hotel by yourself and just brainstorm and write out your quarter, the next quarter, or the goals and what you wanted to do. If you do that and then you check in with yourself, you do a personal inventory and you go like, okay, I wanted to sell $1,000 in retail for the month of January. How are you going to do that? What are you going to sell? You just don't want to sell it and then don't do anything to get it. You got to have a very specific plan in action to get it done, right? So if you do and you write that goal and then you have the map, Tony Robbins' massive action plan, you write out how to get it done, that's how you're going to achieve those results. They might not be exactly what you want. Maybe you'll fall a little short, but I'll tell you, you'll be a hell of a lot larger and better off than you were if you didn't plan and you just wished for it.
And then I would add one other part to that is, then communicate that plan to the specific parties that will be involved with it.
Right. Your team.
So program director, head instructor, whoever is going to be heading up those things, or even, partially involved, the communication to them is going to be highly important.
Yeah, you have to get a buy-in, right? Because like I'm not at my school every day, and I find that even though I say, don't forget to mention the holiday party, don't forget to mention the hoodie sale, don't forget to blah, blah, blah. I'm out there like a snake oil salesman in the lobby. Parents, are you signing up for the holiday party? We want you there. We do this for you. You know, Santa's coming. We're gonna do a demonstration. It's the most fun ever. My staff is like, hey guys, the holiday party's on the 20th. Okay, don't forget. And then they go in the class and they teach. Like there's no enthusiasm. There's no personal connection. Like trying to get you committed to going, right? Like, you know, it's a whole, you have to be a salesperson. And I don't mean sales because some people look at sales like negatively, but you have to be out there promoting. You have to be out there motivating, encouraging people to be a part of what you do. Wear your clothes, wear your hoodies, wear your, you know what I mean? It's got to be, it's a lot more involved than just mentioning it.
Well, it is. And, you know, even to the point where, like when we were doing our hoodie sale for the holiday, you know, we were telling people on the floor, hey, look, there's only 2 days left, or there's 3 days left, or, you know, Friday's it. So make sure you know, that type of thing. Right. And then if there's numbers involved, so for instance, we have our holiday board breaking seminar next Friday. We only accept 50 people. That's 50 people between both schools. And so once it's full, it's full. And, you know, when we advertise it, like when we're talking about it, we let them know that, hey, look, there's only 50 slots. I know it sounds like a lot, but between two schools, it's not a lot. And every single year we sell out.
Yeah.
Every single year. And then we tell the kids, now kids, look, you know, how many of you guys want to, and we show of hands, hey, who wants to come and break real boards? Of course, almost every single kid raises their hand. And you say, look, you know, if your parents say yes, you can do the happy dance. But listen, if your parents say no, no means no.
Right.
So let's say that together. No means what? No, sir. Yes. And so, you know, I kind of give it and then I take it away type thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're right. You have to sell it. You got to motivate.
You have to. And you know what? Those little messages on the classroom floor trickle out into the lobby during pickup. And then you have to have a lobby chat and talk to people, right? And that's why I love what I call Look Who's Going board. And I put it up on the wall. Normally I print out 11 by 17s, you know, holiday party. Right now we have an intricate holiday party sign up thing. We have a digital countdown clock until the days of our holiday party, and it's in the shape of a Christmas tree. And every single person who signs up for the holiday party, we make a little paper ornament and we write their name on it, the so-and-so family 4, and we tape it. And as it fills, the Christmas tree starts getting more and more decorations, right? So it's a visual social media before social media was digital on the computer, right? It was people saying, hey, are you going to the church barbecue? Are you going to the, you know, and we got to get people to ask each other, oh, you don't want to go, but Johnny's going to be there, you know, that kind of thing. So we have to really get out there and get it going. And then sometimes you got to put a little guilt on people because they have a million things going on. Maybe we're lower on the totem pole and we're like, well, why aren't you going to the tournament? Well, my kid's got a soccer game, but he has a soccer game every weekend. We only have this tournament and we're not going to have another one until, you know, 5 months from now. So why aren't you going? You got to put a little bit of social pressure on them so that they understand that it's beneficial to them.
Well, and it's funny you say that because we had a parent ask about our board breaking, and it's like I said, next Friday night, it's from 7 to 9. And she said, well, my son has a basketball game. We could get here by 8 o'clock. So they only leave an hour. But the problem is they'll have already missed, you know, 1 hour of the board breaking seminar, meaning learning how to actually break the boards that they're going to be breaking later on.
Right.
And so we told her, I said, yeah, that's unfortunately not going to work. But, you know, the workaround would be to not go to the basketball game and come to this because we only do this once a year.
Right. Right.
So.
Yeah, but I don't understand how a sport always takes priority over an event that we do, because I guess we're a year-round activity and they're only doing it for 4 months or 5 months or 3 months, right? But at the same time, you're right. Like, miss one game, come to this board breaking thing that we do once a year, and then go back on your schedule to do the games. I mean, you got to tell the coach. Like, I've had that happen with one of my students, and I asked the mom, she goes, oh, Johnny's got a football game. I said, well, why don't you do this? Why don't you ask John what he'd rather do? And if he wants to come to our event, and he'll come to our event, and then you tell the coach he can't make it. He's sick. He's got something else going on. And he ended up coming to our event, but the parent was right away, top priority was the football game because that's what they're doing. So we have to, again, it goes back to educating our clientele and really letting them know what decision, suggesting strongly what decision is the best one for them.
Yeah, I would agree. So, and the other thing too with you setting up your first quarter marketing, if you've never done anything like that before, feed it into Chat GPT, right?
Yeah.
Some sort of AI program, and say, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm looking to do. Help me out. But don't just get involved with AI to feel good about yourself and then
Right.
not do anything.
Right.
Right. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, like I know how to do AI. I used it. I used ChatGPT to do whatever, right? But again, it's that acronym COE, cost of energy, right? Like, why are we spending our time on certain things that are not going to benefit us?
Yep.
Right? It's like going to taking out a table and putting it at a booth at a homeless shelter. A lot of those people just don't have the means to join our school. Now, it's a nice thing if you're giving things away for free and you're helping people, but if that's your source of marketing, you better rethink your source of marketing and see what's the more beneficial thing.
Yeah. So the next one is your staff systems. So your
Right.
staff and then also systems.
Yeah.
And one of the things is I would look and see if you can identify, are there any bottlenecks? Is there anything that I can strip away from this system that would still allow it to be effective but more streamlined? Because sometimes when we build things out, we go, wow, this is so good, and there's 12 steps to it, and everybody's going to love it. But what sometimes we've seen is 12 steps is too much. We actually now personally we have what we call the rule of three. And so really we want to break everything down into 3 steps. Nothing more than, now each step might have a different parts to it, but
Right.
but the concept is the rule of 3. So we try to break everything down into the rule of 3.
Well, engagement is everything, right? So, like, if you have a person who's actively listening, whatever you're talking about, even like a onboarding as a brand new student, and hey, this is how you wash your uniform, this is how you tie your belt, this is how you get promoted. If they're only like just maybe on the surface skimming through the material, it doesn't quite have the impact. Who loses out? The student. Who loses out? The parent, because their kid's not getting what they should or not getting as good as they should. So we have to find a way to penetrate, like you said, that last half inch of the skull and get people to understand. But I'll tell you one thing, I did a lot of automations. I have an automation for missing in action. I have an automation for new students, for onboarding. I just recently, I don't know if you know this, but there's a report on Spark that you could review what text messages are going out. So like if you have 7 different automations and you could see all of them are like crossing over. So now people are getting 7 times the amount of information that they should. And they've just opted out. They mentally shut you off because you're giving them way too much. You're spamming them basically.
Well,
so
on top of that, you spent money to get them to tune out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're paying for the text to go out. You're paying for that, right?
Yeah.
So how do we review our material and say, like, what is the stuff that we really need? What's the most important message that we're trying to get across?
Yes, and make it pare it down to the best of your ability. So not only just your automations, but also your teaching.
Right.
So we used to have a more intricate, I'll use this as an example, more intricate way of teaching a front stance. I know a front stance is very simple, but we would even talk about the fact that, not only is your front knee bent and the knee is over the ankle and your back leg is straight and your back foot is 45 degrees and your hips are, like we would have this whole elaborate thing. Well, we broke it down to the rule of 3. Rule of 3 is front knee is bent, back leg is straight, hips are pointed forward.
Right.
And if you, and really that solves 80% of the issues in a front stance. If your front knee is bent, your back leg is straight, and your hip is pointed forward, you got the stance 80%.
Right. So let me ask you this, totally kind of unrelated. So let's just say we do that three-step program on the front stance, and you explain it and you show it and you explain it again and then you show it and then you re-explain it, right? And then the person, there's like 20 people in the class that are still doing it sloppily and lazily. What do you do? Like, how do you,
Well,
you
you can
can't walk
expand.
around, you can't walk around. No, I'm not saying just in the description, but just people are not motivated to do it the way they're supposed to. Like years ago, you'd show it twice or three times, and the students wanted to do it exactly the way you showed it. Nowadays, it's almost like suggestive. Like, I'm lazy. I don't care. I don't want to do it the right way. Like, so what do you do in your school to get people to kind of really buy into it, so to
Well,
speak?
we let them know that that's part of your stripe test. So in order to be able to do the low block or middle punch or high block or high punch, whatever it is, correctly, you also have the correct stance. So just because you can do, your low block, but you're in
Yeah.
a poor stance, you still earn your stripe.
So do you actually, and this is probably the most effective and important thing, do you actually say, I'm sorry, I've told you this 4 times, you didn't do it right, you don't get your stripe?
Yes.
So what if a parent's like, I can't believe it. Like I have a kid who's a blue belt, who's as lazy as, ever. And he hasn't been promoted in 3 years because no matter what we show him, and it's not like he's slow or has special needs, he just doesn't put the effort into to remembering it or doing it. So if he doesn't get tested, which I have a kid, it's been 3 years that didn't test. Now the parents are very concerned. Like, am I wasting my money? Is something wrong? Like, what is happening? And
Well,
is it your fault as an instructor?
well, I would always take some responsibility, but the question is, how many meetings have I had with the parent and the child, in 3 years?
Right,
Yeah, and look, it may be that it isn't the right time for the child.
right,
So the question is, if you can certainly keep your child in and keep doing this. It is beneficial for him to be a part of this team and feel a part, but it's not beneficial for him to stay a blue belt for the last 3 years.
right,
And so we have some thinking to do. And I
right,
know, so tell me you want to see your child progress, correct? Okay, so what does that look like?
right,
And start to get them to feed it back to you. I
yeah,
rather than me educating them, I'd like them to educate me on what that actually looks like. So what's
right.
progress to you, and
Yeah,
then kind of move forward from there.
I had a friend, and it might even have been you, but whoever, I don't remember. And the parent would say, "When is my son testing?" And the instructor would go, "I don't know. When is your son testing?" And they'd be like, "What do you mean?" Well, when is he going to be ready to test? Do you have any idea what he needs to learn? Just does your son follow up on that? Like, it's not my responsibility to walk him through every single step we need. We're trying to teach self-discipline and confidence. They need to start stepping up to get it to happen,
Yeah, yeah. And look,
right?
I had stripe testing last night because we're in our stripe testing cycle because we have our belt test before we close at the end of the year. And I had in my intermediate class, I had two people not get their forms stripe, and one person didn't get their board breaking stripe. And I told them, I said, "Well, try it again next class. Here's what you messed up on. Here's what you need to work on. Now, if you don't work on it, you don't change anything, you're not going to get it. And when it comes test time, you can't test.
Right.
So, what do you want to do?"
Yeah, you gotta, and that you have to put the ownership on them because again, if they were on a football team and they ran slow and didn't catch the ball, they'd be benched. Or if they didn't put any effort forward, they'd be benched, right? But the sad reality is, rather than a parent these days saying, you better work harder, they'll just say, okay, I guess football is not the sport. Let's try baseball. And then they do the same. Well, let's try soccer. Then they do the same. Like, so it's not that the parents are not educated enough. And by the way, this is retention, right? They're not educated enough on the steps to take to bring their kid out of that funk.
Well, here's a great phrase. And a friend of mine, Mark Jones, said this in different context. It had nothing to do with martial arts, but man, was it so good. And I utilize it now. All you do is you just apologize and you say, I'm sorry. that I seem to want this more than you do.
Right. Yeah.
And so until you want it more and do something about it, you're going to stay exactly where you're at.
Yeah, and look, I didn't care about belt testing, so I was a purple belt for 3 years. In fact, I have the purple belt on my wall right in front of me because it's a great reminder that I didn't care about getting the next belt. And my teacher didn't even give stripes, but on my purple belt, I have 8 stripes, 4 on each side. He never gave stripes, but he just would keep giving me a stripe. And one day he said to me, he goes, when do you want to get promoted? I said to my teacher, Shion, I don't care. I love training. Purple belt, black belt, yellow belt, it doesn't matter to me. I enjoy the training and getting good. So we have to instill those values in our students and instill them in the parents. So it's not an adversarial relationship, because that's what people think. Like they think like, my kid is failing at school, the school sucks, the teacher sucks, right? Like my daughter was not very good at math. And she'd come home crying and she couldn't understand it. So I hired a tutor. And then we went to private tutoring. And I did whatever I could for her to understand math so she could pass. I said, you might not be, you're like your dad. Maybe you're not like, you're not the best mathematician, but you'll at least get through it and pass and do well. So that's super, super important.
Agreed. So, and not that I'm not trying to bring up my book, but that's one of the reasons that I wrote my book. And then one of the chapters talks about quitting hurts more than you know.
Right. Right. That's funny. I wrote an article just recently on that too. I read your book. Maybe that's what in my brain I got the idea. But it does though, right? Like people don't realize. And I wrote a little article on, like how you have so much potential that you don't even know that you have.
Yeah.
Right. As long as you apply it.
Yep. So listen, look at your staff, look at the things that you're teaching. How can you simplify it, but still get the point across?
Right.
Look at your systems and do the same thing. Now, maybe you only focus on one thing each month. So maybe you're looking at your white belt curriculum in January and how can I simplify the teaching of this? And then your yellow belt curriculum, like whatever. And then maybe you're only looking at one system a month. Like don't get overwhelmed and think you got to do it all at once. Right. The next thing I think is important. This is probably we should have brought this up in the beginning, is your stop doing list.
Yeah, I love it. I love that idea.
Your stop doing list, because sometimes it's not, delegation. It's not duplication. It's actually, what do I need to delete from my school, from my program, from my life? I think it's highly important to have a stop doing list. And it kind of goes along with what you said, the cost of energy.
well, remember I wrote this book, The 5 Gateways to Happiness?
Yes.
In there, I have a whole chapter on what I call the I love and the I hate list. It's an entire chapter on writing out what you love and hate. And obviously you're going to just throw up on the page, I hate, and people will go like, that's easy. I hate politics. I hate people who cut me off on the road. I hate bills. And you could keep on going, right? You have 30 I hates, and then you write what you love, like the things that enhance your life and make you happy. I love cooking. I love listening to classical music, going to rock concerts, and you write the I love list, right? And this is the stop doing list. So now you go back to the I hates and you say, how can I eliminate those things? Like, I'll give you a quick example. I used to have many sleepless nights that I did not like what someone would comment on my YouTube page. You move like an old lady. Your technique sucks. You're this, you're that. And I'd try to win them over. I'd write them back. Why do I suck? What could I do better? And then finally I would be kept up at night. So, I said, I need to stop letting this stress me out. So you know what I did? Simplest thing ever. I stopped letting people comment on my videos. And it literally eliminated, even though I know there are people out there probably thinking it, but I don't see it, so I'm not bothered by it. So now that one little thing removed a massive amount of stress, many sleepless nights, me trying, not feeling adequate, whatever it might have been, right? Believing people's hate, And you know what? I eliminated it. So I would go through strategically on my I hate list, on the stop doing list, and I would strategically eliminate those things or delegate things that I didn't like paying bills or whatever. I delegate those. And then I loves I'd enhance. Like if I like to cook, but I like to listen to classical music, why not combine the two? I go, hey Google, turn on classical music, and then I'd play it while I'm cooking a meal. Like, so you gotta have that list. This stop doing list is essential.
And I would also extend that to ask your staff what they feel that we need to stop doing at the studio.
Well, that would
Because
be everything that they have to do. Look, just kidding.
well, potentially, but look, I don't think anybody's going to say, yeah, we need to stop cleaning the studio.
Right.
But they may say, yeah, it's not something that I enjoy doing. I know it's necessary.
Right.
So, could that mean that on the weekend you have a professional, cleaning service come in and clean the school, but during the week they're picking up. They're not doing deep cleans.
Right.
But and then what would that bottom line look like? But what does that relieve pressure for, your current staff? So there is some trade-off there. And I'm not saying you should do it. I'm saying you could entertain it. I wouldn't state any of that to them until you made a decision. Right. If you were going to do something like that, because, even if you just say it, and what I found out is sometimes I'll say ideas out loud and then my staff think that's exactly what we're going to do. So I no longer say my ideas out loud. Mr. Bean, I will do that with, just because he understands now that every idea is not an actionable idea. It's just me bouncing stuff off of him. But make a stop doing list for yourself. And like Allie said, see if you can delegate it by, then you've stopped doing it. See if you can delete it.
Like cleaning, for example. Like years ago, my students would clean the school. And then I had one jerky parent, how much are you going to pay my kid? He's cleaning. And I'm like, you do realize I'm educating him on how to clean his own house and his own bedroom. And we're doing all this stuff. Plus the dojo is a home away from home. So we have to maintain it like they do in Japan. Right. So maybe incorporate that into once a month classes, and you do it on different days of the month so that everybody gets a chance to buy into taking care of the school and being a part of it. And that way they have some pride. Like if they see if they clean the floors and they see a piece of garbage on the floor, most likely now they're going to pick it up rather than walk over it. Right. So like that's the martial arts goes far deeper than just kicking and punching. Right. Like parents don't really realize how lucky they are with what we do and how deep the spider web of lessons goes into their lifestyle.
So I know we're running out on time. Let's kind of go over some quick action steps for school owners. So do a year in review meeting with your staff. Set up some goals, one or two of them for 2026. I would also say, look at your January and come up with, how you're going to run your January, marketing wise, parent things, events, whatever it is, but coming up with those specific ideas, identify, what did we talk about? Identify maybe one system that needs to be revamped. And definitely write your own stop doing list. And
ask the staff what their opinion is, because sometimes you are seeing it from an owner's point of view, but you're not seeing it. So like if you have an unhappy staff member and they don't want to do something because they feel it's a waste of their time, they're not going to like it. So they won't do it well or do it at all. So let's find out why they feel that way and then educate them on why we want that project or that item to be done. Maybe we could have a happy medium between the two.
Yeah, agreed. So, all right. Well, I know that, we're looking, what is this? The first week of December. So probably 2 more podcasts for the year. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. And listen, it just as a reminder to everybody, right? You want to maybe go on our Facebook page, the School Owner Talk page, and share what you want to achieve, what you want to do, right? And then it's really good because then you'll get other school owners that also have an opinion on how they overcame or did or fixed or changed something, right? So it's always great to have these community groups because you have a think tank, so to speak, of all different people who are successful that maybe want to help, or they have an idea, or they have a question. And then don't forget, become a member of our Facebook group, like it, so you get, I mean, you have to be in it in order. But if you're listening to the podcast and you're not part of our group, you have to ask to be in the group. And then check us out on, Spotify and, iTunes, and then YouTube now. Our following is growing pretty well on YouTube. People are starting to use that as a resource to watch our videos. So, be a part of all of this stuff and just engage like we want our students to do as our friends and fans or our group. Definitely engage with us more so we could help you.
Yeah, and please like and subscribe, and leave comments on the 5-star reviews. I mean, if you if you don't have a 5-star review, I understand maybe, but if you can leave a 5-star review, that would be quite helpful.
Yeah, reviews mean a lot. Even on our books, Duane, your new book, my new book, if we get reviews, not Google, but Amazon will get a better algorithm, and they show it. Hey, 10 reviews, 50 reviews, like that really brings our ratings up and gets more people to see what we do.
Agreed. All right. Thanks, Allie.
Great. I'll see you soon, dude. Have a great day.
Now that's a wrap. Another episode of Martial Arts School Owner Talk is in the vast library. We appreciate you tuning in and being part of this incredible community. A huge thank you to everyone who makes this podcast possible, including our sponsors, such as EliteInsights.com, your go-to high-performing website company for martial arts schools, LeadHunterMedia.com, your expert in digital media and content creation for martial arts schools, AddHealthCoaching.com, helping school owners unlock a powerful revenue stream by providing the tools and framework to become a health coach. Thanks again for joining us. If you found value in today's episode, be sure to subscribe and share our show with other school owners and friends. See you on the next episode.